There's something I want to ask you today. Have you ever looked at your life and wondered, how did I end up here? Not because your life is terrible, not because you failed, but because somewhere along the way it feels like you're stopping and not choosing. You wake up, you go to work, come home, handle the bills, take care of your family, go to bed, and then you do it all again tomorrow. These days become weeks, these weeks become months, months become years, and one day you look in the mirror and think, when did I stop living my life and simply start managing it? Now, if that sounds familiar, my friend, this episode's for you. Because today I want to talk to you about one of the biggest differences I've ever discovered. The difference between designing your life and reacting to it. And here's what most men never realize. It isn't your circumstances deciding which one you're living. It's your awareness. Most men don't wake up one morning and decide they're going to live on autopilot. Nobody chooses that. It happens slowly. Responsibility just shows up. Marriage, kids, the mortgage, your career, unexpected problems, maybe someone gets sick, work gets demanding, and before long, decisions you make is simply just responding to whatever shows up first. Your calendar, it tells you where to go. Your phone tells you what deserves your attention. Your boss, they tell you what matters today, and your inbox tells you what's urgent. Maybe your family tells you what's needed. And then eventually, everyone else is directing your life. And somewhere underneath all that, you, my friend, disappear. Not physically, but internally. Here's something I've noticed after talking to so many men. Most aren't exhausted because they're doing too much. They're exhausted because they're constantly reacting. Reaction, my friend, is expensive. Every unexpected problem steals your attention. Every emotional trigger steals your energy. Every interruption changes your direction. When you're always reacting, you never get to lead. Imagine trying to drive across the country, but every 30 seconds, someone grabs the steering wheel. You'd eventually get there, but you certainly wouldn't end up where you intended. That's how many men live. Life just keeps grabbing the wheel, and eventually, they forget where they're supposed to be driving. My friend, here's the dangerous part. Reaction feels productive. You're solving problems. You're answering emails, fixing things, making decisions, providing, working hard. So from the outside, it looks responsible. But internally, you're slowly losing ownership. There's a difference between being busy and being intentional. One creates movement, the other creates direction. You can spend your whole entire life moving without ever intentionally deciding where you're actually going. I think this is one of the reasons that many men feel empty. Not because they lack achievement. Many have achieved exactly what they wanted. They have the career, they have their home, they have the family, they have financial stability. But achievement isn't the same as alignment. You can build a successful life and accidentally build one that you never consciously chose. That's a painful realization. Because once you've built it, you feel trapped inside the very thing you worked so hard to create. Now, I remember realizing this for myself. I kept waiting for life to slow down. I thought, well, you know what? When work settles, you know what? When the kids get older, when my finances improve, when things calm down, that's when I'll start focusing on myself. But over the last 3 decades here, life has never slowed down because life doesn't naturally become less demanding. It simply offers you different demands. If you wait for perfect timing, you're going to do what I did, and you're going to spend decades waiting. The men who transform don't wait for less responsibility. They learn to lead in the middle of responsibility. Now that's the difference. One of the biggest lies we believe is that I don't have a choice. And I've said it. I'm sure you probably said it. I have to work. I have to do this. I have to keep everyone happy. I have no time. But my friend, now before you misunderstand me, yes, you have responsibilities. I have responsibilities. We all have those responsibilities. But responsibility and helplessness aren't the same thing. You may not control everything that happens, but you always control how you respond. And that response is where your life is built. Not in the circumstances, but in the decisions you make inside them. Every day, you design something, whether you realize it or not. Every habit, every conversation, every thought you repeat, every boundary you refuse to set, opportunities you avoid, even excuses you believe. Every one of those decisions just becomes another brick. And eventually, those bricks become your life. This question isn't, are you designing your life? The big question is, are you designing it intentionally or accidentally? I often tell the men I coach that your current life is perfectly designed for the person you've constantly been. Now, that's not criticism, it's freedom. Because if today's life reflects yesterday's choices, guess what? Tomorrow's life can reflect today's choices. That's empowering. It means you're not waiting for motivation. You're not waiting for this more confidence. You're not waiting for permission. You begin building. You begin building one decision at a time. Here's something I really want you to think about this. Most men spend years trying to change outcomes. They want better relationships, better health, better finances, more confidence, less stress. But these outcomes aren't where design begins. Design begins underneath. It begins with identity. Who are you becoming? Because your life will always organize itself around who you believe you are. If you believe you're someone who constantly reacts, you're going to keep reacting. If you believe you're someone who leads, you'll start looking for opportunities to lead. Identity changes attention. Attention changes your choices. Choices change your direction. And my friend, direction changes your life. This is why I spend so much time talking about awareness. Awareness, it's not soft, it's practical. Because you can't redesign what you refuse to notice. If you've been living on autopilot, the first step isn't fixing everything. First step's just noticing it. Notice what keeps stealing your attention. Notice what keeps triggering your reactions. Notice what drains your energy. Notice where you've surrendered your responsibility. Notice the stories that you keep repeating. That's where redesign begins. Not with massive change, with honest observation. Then ask yourself one simple question. If I were intentionally designing today, what would I do differently? Maybe you'd put your phone away for dinner. Maybe you'd take your wife for a walk. Maybe you'd sit with your son or daughter instead of watching TV. Maybe you go to bed earlier. Maybe you finally make that difficult phone call. Or maybe you'd even just spend 10 minutes quietly by yourself. What kind of man do you actually want to become? Those aren't dramatic decisions, my friend. But they completely change direction. And small changes, repeated consistently, create entirely different lives. Here's what I learned. Nobody accidentally becomes a man they admire. Nobody accidentally builds a great marriage. Nobody accidentally raises emotionally healthy children. Nobody accidentally discovers purpose. Those things are designed. Slowly, patiently, intentionally, one ordinary day at a time. So if today feels ordinary, good. Because ordinary days are where extraordinary lives are built. Not through these giant breakthroughs, but through thousands of small choices that nobody else ever sees. The world, it celebrates the big moments. God often works through faithful ones. One conversation, one prayer, one decision, one apology, one boundary, one act of courage. Those moments, my friend, become the blueprint of your future. So let me leave you with this. Stop asking, when will life finally give me the chance to live intentionally? Instead ask, how can I intentionally live inside the life I already have? Because waiting is a reaction. Choosing is design. And every single day, whether you realize it or not, you're laying another brick. Now the only question is, are you building by default or are you building by design? Because one day you're going to look back at the life you built. My hope is that when you do, you won't simply see a man who survived. You'll see a man who chose, a man who led, a man who became exactly who God was calling him to become, one intentional decision at a time. My friend, thanks for spending the time with me today. Now, if this episode had changed you, I encourage you not to let it end as another piece of information. Choose one thing, just one intentional decision you'll make today that your future self will thank you for. Because your life isn't changed by what you know, it's changed by what you choose. And remember, you don't have to redesign your entire life today. You just have to stop handing the pen to somebody else. Start writing the next chapter yourself. Trust yourself. You got this.